in 2012, at Easter of 2012, this is when everything changed. This is really what got the U.S. government knocking on my door. This is why I'm here today. 2012, Saturday night, Easter. Sunday morning's Easter, right? At 3 o'clock in the morning, so it's actually Easter Sunday morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm asleep in the bed, dead asleep. That night before, I had all I could stand, seeing my kids coming home crying and the whole community making fun of the family and my dad. And now they've been experiencing this stuff. They know it's happening, but they couldn't contest adults, right? They wouldn't talk back. They knew better. But it had really, my little girl coming home crying from people picking on her. So I walked outside that night. And I remember I had this desire to tell it to everybody. I had to tell it. It's like the Richard Dreyfuss Close Encounters thing. So I walked outside that night at 9:30, and I looked up to the sky, and I said, thank you for ruining my life. My children. I said, thank you for healing me and proving to my family that you're real, but this life is worse off now for my whole family. I'm better physically, but now my family is in shambles, all because of me. And I shouted it to the heavens. And I see these things. They're coming. These orbs are always around. And I knew it hurt me. I knew it was. So I went to bed. 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear the same voice, the same little being that spoke to me and said, I'm here to help you, not hurt you. I heard that same voice. And it sounded like a man, really deep. And it said, arise. That's all I heard, that quick word, arise. And it was so deep. It was like thunder in my room. I jumped up from laying in the bed, dead asleep, to sitting up in my bed, and it's dark. I can't see. And there was 3 o'clock on my, back then we had a clock, alarm clock, and it said 3 a.m. Next thing I know, I see movement in the room. Whatever they did to me, it caused me to get dressed and follow out the door. Now I'm outside, and I'm walking towards my dog kennel at 3 o'clock in the morning, fully dressed, clothes from being asleep. And suddenly this figure hands me something. As far out as it sounds, now I'm telling you, it sounds crazy. And it took me 2 weeks to tell it because they all labeled me crazy, and I stopped talking about it. Now 5 years later, this happens. And what happened was it handed me this object, and it felt like a living creature, like a squirrel maybe, or something that size, but I couldn't see or feel legs or a head. It felt just like a tube, but furry and kind of prickly. And handed it to me and said, you must keep this. Immediately I drop it because I know what it was, and it was prickly. And his words came again, no, you must pick this up. You must keep this. So I reached down to pick it up. When I did, this being that was standing there is now gone. And I'm at the dog kennel, so I'm juggling it in my hand. I know I need to see what this thing is. It's dark, so I opened the kennel and put it in and closed the door. And the very second I did that, this blast of air come directed. It wasn't in the woods and around us. It was right straight in front of me. A blast of air hits me and blew me over. The wind. Later on, I understood the Holy Spirit. The word spirit means the wind. The Holy Spirit means the breath of God. So I had to put this in there. But it was the wind. A physical force blew me over. And as I hit backwards on the ground, I saw what appeared to be a translucent cow, a bull, run over me, and I could see stars inside of it, up through
it. That's what they had handed you?
Well, what they handed me, I put in the kennel. Mm-hmm. When I locked the door or closed the door, now a blast of air next to the woods hits me, and out of that wind, when the wind hit me and blew me over, with that wind was a translucent cow. Or bull, a big one, went over me, and it didn't hurt me, but I could see it clearly. I could see the stars inside. This is really strange because I just I'll get
It's definitely strange.
I'll get back to this in a minute, right? Of something I just saw, discovered with a guy that studies Egypt, Dr. Robert Grant. He discovered that bull inside the king's chamber. There's never been a inscription in that pyramid nowhere. So he goes in with LiDAR, and there's that bull, celestial bull, with stars inside of it. He and I just worked this thing out. He'd seen it. He shared it with me. And when I told him what happened to me, he got some other clues out of that. But it was exactly what I saw. But now listen, when the bull went over, I land on my back and I'm getting up to run. So I roll over. Now I'm looking this way. And behind me, there's no cow anymore. There's a woman there. She's about 3 feet off the ground. She's glowing just the color of the moon. There's a circle of light on the ground. And she looks at me and she says, "You know why I'm here?" And I knew I was crushed, basically, because I'd had this overwhelming desire to tell the world what I'd seen. And then that night I cursed at the heavens and said, "I'm never doing that. I'll never speak again." And now she's like, "You know why I'm here. This is your burden you must bear." She said that. She said, "If you'll tell this story, I'll always be with you. I'll allow you to share our presence with others and film us. So help me." I never had a picture of anything for the previous 5 years, only inside the house. When people see this or out in my children. Now everybody's coming to the house and it appears overhead. It appears around us. And it's greater today than it was then. And magic started happening. And when that word got out, then comes this government. They want to know about this lady.
Let's pause right there. I have questions.
Okay.
So the initial, what was it that you were handed?
I've been asked that a million times. I don't know. It was like a living creature.
It was living. It was moving around.
But it had no head or legs. It felt like if you had a squirrel in your hand or a hedgehog, that prickly, it felt like it was living, but it had no head or tail. And I asked the lady what this was, and she told me it was symbolic of humanity. Had lost its direction. Had no head or no tail. It completely lost its direction, and it vanished when I went
right
back.
on the money with that.
Yeah, well, exactly. And she told me a lot of stuff that I never revealed, and to this day I haven't revealed a whole lot of it because I don't want to sound like a prophet or any of that. I just don't. My goal is to share this story with everyone and share the phenomenon, which I have been able to do.
What did the bull represent, do you think?
I had no clue.
'Cause
Remember,
you worked with Robert Grant?
Robert Grant is who I was with last at Contact in the Desert a couple months back, and Robert was showing the Oculus to me about what he had discovered in the pyramid. So he put these goggles on and he does this LiDAR, and their biggest daylight is a bull on the side of the wall in the king's chamber. You only can see it with this technology he has, and the stars are inside. And above it is a helix of DNA. And then on the sarcophagus in the king's chamber is the Alpha and Omega symbol.
What do you think that represents?
Well, Alpha and Omega is God, the beginning and the end. The bull is the celestial bull. To me, the lady that came to me is the Holy Spirit, the breath of God, the wind, the Virgin Mary, Hathor, Demeter, Diana, Parvati. In every culture, on every continent, they all have a mother figure, all of them, including the Egyptians. They believe in the Trinity. When you read the Egyptian stuff, it was, in the beginning, it was Pitta was the father, Met was the mother, and then they had it changed to Ra, and then Hathor, and then Horus. It's just the divine trinity. They have a triad. And I think that the lady, the women, the feminine was taken out of the equation by a bunch of men in 2,000 years ago and oppressed all the women, kicked them out, and said, you can't be in the church. It's a boys' club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from that point forward, the women have been oppressed. They're made to wear things over their face and head, and even up in the 60s and 70s. Me growing up, there was a great oppression on the women. But that's my belief. And, it doesn't matter in Christianity or in any religion. None of us really know. So, and then I was taken to Egypt, and I saw the pyramids and this Hathor's temple. I saw that, the Sphinx facing to the east. And then the lady comes back the following year after all this. This was in 2013 is when I really got that message from her, because that's when I was asked by the Pentagon, by 2 Air Force generals, to put it in writing what she told me. And I did. And this was on request from NASA, a friend at NASA. So he come and got it and hand-delivered it to these generals. And she told me that, she said that when the star of Regulus, she called it a red star. When you look at it, it looks blue. But she said when Regulus is red on the horizon, in front of the gaze of the Sphinx, before daylight. So in other words, when it's sitting right on top of the horizon, before the sun comes up, that moment would mark a change in humanity's knowledge. And she showed me other things. War, us bombing Iran, us bombing Syria. And in them days, none of that had happened. So I put all that on this piece of paper. And now I've had so many write me back, oh my God, you see they just bombed Iran, or Iran just bombed us. You were right the whole time. And I did that in 2012. And so what they did was I gave them the date of 2026, because they took that celestial event and ran it through these machines that showed that exact alignment will happen in 2026 at Easter. That exact alignment will happen in 2026 at Easter.
What will happen?
The star will, the alignment she told me about, that the star of Regulus would be on the horizon in front of the Sphinx. At that moment, there'd be a new knowledge. Well, I had no idea if this was even possible, but these astronomers run it through the machines, and it comes out that star is going to come up on the horizon in Easter of 2026. And from that point forward, they started remote viewing the state. Government did. And now you hear it all over TV. 2026, that's the big date. That year, something's going to happen. Armageddon, you hear it all over. You hear it on TV. If you study, like I've heard even, well, I won't say names, but,
Please do.
well, you know Lou Elizondo, right? Lou's mentioned that date. A lot of people have.
Easter 2026.
Well, the year 2026. I gave him the specific time. And it was with Robert Grant that I told him about this alignment and all. And then he's like, oh my God. He's been looking for this ruby, this little ruby you have to find and place it between the paws of the Sphinx to make this event that he knows is going to happen in 2026. He's been looking for this ruby, this little ruby you have to find and place it between the paws of the Sphinx to make this event that he knows is going to happen in 2026.
Then they would receive a message about the coming rapture on the third day, which would be Sunday. And then there would be an earthquake, and the mountain would crumble. To me, this would seem that the pyramid at Giza would be crumbling. And a lot of people have thought that this pyramid is sort of a satanic icon would be crumbling. And I thought, could that possibly refer to the fact that the Lord would be taking his first step in taking the planet back from that symbol that we have on the back of the $1 bill, and it's also a popular Masonic symbol.
So I said, Robert, it's not a ruby, it's the Star of Regulus. And he looks at it, he's like, oh my God, it's the King's Star. So what's going to happen, I don't know. But I think it's possible that's the return of
Christ.
Yeah. The return of
Christ.
Yeah. Or the lady and the whole heavenly host living with us, Jesus. That's the first time I've ever said that in my life, publicly. You're the first. And a million people's asked me this. So I think it's entirely possible that, because she told me that when the suffering of man becomes too great, that they're going to stop it and they're going to snuff out the darkness. That's why the military and the government all want to know about this, because they know it's real. They know this lady has been seen 1,000,000 times. And when she comes, she's always warning of some big catastrophe. In the Native American world, they call her the White Buffalo Calf Lady. And she would come warning about some tribe coming to kill everybody or some big event. And it's in every culture that way. But I'm as, I wish I knew more.
What else do you know?
I just, I think we're living in the worst possible times right now, that if we don't make some changes, there's going to be some major disasters about to happen. And it's man-made. It's not solar flare. It's not any of that. It's a dark force. Because she told me, well, I'll tell you what she told me. This is what I put in writing, part of it. She said, there are people in power. I put this in writing in 2012. She said, there are people in power. And I'm not going to say where she focused my thoughts on that, but they're script in the book of Revelation to bring about Armageddon and the end of the world. They're doing it intentionally, and that's what she told me. And that's the very thing the main meat of the whole message I sent to these generals. So it makes sense, right?
Who is they?
I don't know who they are. I think they're Satanists. I think they're people that worship the dark force, that don't care for humanity and human life. And in fact, they're the total opposite of, they worship the devil. Or I don't know if there is a devil. I think it's a very dark force that is living full of dark entities that feed on you parasitically, like they'd be non-physical. They shape shift. They take your mind over. They make you do crazy things. They deceive you, make you kill somebody, go crazy. Where the angelic world are the physical beings. They can come in here and light. These beings are made of light. The dark force is a parasitic race. And whoever's aligned with that is, according to the mother, the lady, is scripted the book of Revelation. They don't want it to happen.
Why did they want it to happen?
I think it's the dark force. I think that they want to snuff out God. They don't want us to have God in our heart. Why do you think they did evolution? That's the biggest, dumbest thing I ever heard in my life, that every living thing come from a mud puddle. And it can't happen. It's just not possible. It's a laugh. It's a joke.
You know what I find interesting is from the very beginning, when you saw the being that your family, and initially you, if I remember correctly, thought was just the medication,
Right.
You had some type of an intuition from the very get-go that this was a guardian angel of some type.
Yep.
And it has progressed.
I knew I had one when I was 10. I just knew it. I knew something saved me, because the doctor's like, man, you shouldn't have lived through this. If I showed you the hole in my back and the lead in front of me right here, you'd be like, how did this happen? Is that close to my spinal column? I'm leaning over a bit. Is that close to the back of my head and directly in line with my heart? And I knew the doctor told me, you're the luckiest guy in the world. And all I could think then was it wasn't luck. It was something protecting me. In fact, in my regression 2008. If you heard the regression, they said, we were with you when you were 10 years old, and we'll be with you right on.
You know what else I find interesting? You are the only one, to my knowledge, that I've spoken to on this subject, on the UFO subject, that believes in Jesus Christ.
I do wholeheartedly. More today than I ever did.
That openly talks about it.
Yeah. And that's been a problem of censorship and kind of put me on the back burner and keeping me at bay publicly.
Yeah.
It really has.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised one bit.
But I'd never told this message about what we just talked about until now, because now I think it's the time to tell it. 12 years, 13 years, I've kept it secret. Only my family knew.
What do you think that day is going to look like? If you thought you had to...
It says in Michael, in that glorious and beautiful day, he's coming back to save us all.
Do you look forward to that day?
Absolutely.
Do you have any fear about that day?
I fear my children and these crazy people that just can't get a hold of their whatever they're doing. I'm almost 63 years old. I've been through 11 or 12 presidents. And people my age and your age, but especially my age, everything's happening now is completely not normal. And we all see the writing on the wall. We all see the players, some of these players. There's a lot behind the scene that we, especially, they're hidden, but we all see something ain't right. And there's got to be a cleansing. And the only thing that can change people is God. And the phenomena can change you inside. But there ain't going to be no change of humanity without having some spiritual thing come in and change us from the inside out there. And that's what's coming. And there's nothing nobody can do about it. They can squeal and squirm and try to make it look negative and ugly all they want. But it's not going to stop what's coming, according to her. And in the book of Revelation, in the very last chapter, it says, when the armies surround Israel on all four sides, that he's coming back to fight the battle and rid the world of evil. And then there'll be a time of peace, 1,000 years. And that's what the lady told me. Same thing. I said a lot.
Thank you for sharing that.
A whole lot. 18 years, I've never told this. Or the 17 and a half years.
How does it feel to get it out?
Right. Right. I'll get a lot of blowback from this, I promise you. I just hope the world that has been told it's the devil can wake the heck up and see that a little bit of heaven's coming here to help us.
Would you be willing to come back on this show?
I would love to, yes, sir. I'd be honored.
I could go deeper, but I think this is a good part to end this interview. But with that being said, I would love to get you back because I have a lot more questions, but I know it's been a rough day.
Just say the word and I'll be here.
Thank you, Chris.
I promise. Said when Regulus is red on the horizon in front of the gaze of the spin before daylight. So in other words, when it's sitting right on top of the horizon before the sun comes up, that moment would mark a change in humanity's knowledge.